So tell me, because obviously I'm familiar with your career in the early days with presenting. Where did this Formula One gig appear from? How did that? I mean, did you go after it? Have you always been in love with Formula One? Tell us some more.
I mean, I was aware of Formula One. My grandfather was a huge fan. It was always on the box when I was a kid. So I was definitely aware of it. I remember thinking, well, those guys are nuts, look how fast they're going. But I wasn't like a die-hard fan. If it was on, if I'm in the house and there's guys traveling around a circuit at 220 miles an hour, yeah, I'm going to look at that. But I wasn't a die-hard fan, and I never had any expectation that I would become a Formula One presenter or a sports presenter. You know, I'm essentially an entertainment presenter. That's where I started. And this phone call in early 2016 just came out of the blue, and it was the then head of Channel 4, Jay Hunt, and she rang me and said, "You're into Formula One, yes?" And of course, yes, huge fan. I love it. And she was like, "Okay, good. That's good to know. I'll get back to you." And that was it. Just a short conversation. What the hell was that about? Weird. And about a week later, she called me in and said, "Yeah, we're going to have Formula One on Channel 4, and I want you to be the host," which blew my mind.
Wow, how cool.
I did not think, wow, how cool. I thought...
Did you not?
No, I thought you got the wrong guy. What do you mean? I'm not a sports presenter. I don't know anything beyond, a Formula One is cars on a circuit racing one another. I didn't know anything about it. I didn't know what DRS meant. I didn't know all the names of the drivers. So I just, I showed her the whites of my eyes, and I was pretty much telling her, I don't know if I can do that. That's beyond what I think I'm capable of. And she was like, I disagree. I think you can do it. I'm like, okay. It's pretty scary, Jay Hand. If she tells you something, you listen.
Yeah, I've heard that.
And I kind of thought, well, okay, I'll have a look at some races, and I'll let it seep in, and I'll see if I can, get to a point where I'm comfortable. And she was like, no, I'm telling you, you're going to be doing it. So go away, learn it, and then come back in March. You're going to be hosting Formula One. So, okay. So I went home and I watched the entirety of the 2015 season. Every qualifying session, every race, every free practice session. I just let it wash over me and absorb it. I was dreaming Formula One eventually. That's all I did. Jason, you know the deal. No one person can know everything about Formula One. It's super complicated. There's lots going on. And that's kind of my mantra. I know quite a bit. I know more than the average Joe. But it's still an ever-learning process. You're always learning. It's so tough. It's so exciting. And I feel like people are more passionate about this than anything I've ever done. So I've just always, I feel very lucky to be part of it. And I did not think that I would end up being a sports presenter, but here I am. And thank you, Jay Hunt, very, very much.
How cool is that? What a great story, eh?
And so do you find then that you sort of structure your work so that you can kind of lean more on the likes of DC and other people as and when you need it? Does it work like that? Do you kind of like carve up the stuff?
Yeah, I mean, initially that's how it worked. I leaned on my producers and directors, and of course DC and Ben Edwards is kind of my oracle. I said earlier that no one person can know everything. Ben Edwards, our commentator, is probably the exception to the rule. He does know everything, but that's Ben. He's a one-off. But that first year, of course, I leaned so heavily on my team, on Whisper, the production company who make our coverage. And they guided me, they put me under their wing. Our series editor at the time, a guy called Mark Wilkin, he worked very closely with me. And I learned my craft, And now I don't lean so much because I've been doing it for 4 years. I'm heading into my 5th season, and now I have ideas. I write the show. All the stuff that you see on screen is me. I've written all that. I come up with the questions. In fact, if I'm completely honest, now I'll turn to DC and say, don't ask that question, ask this one. It's more hard. He's got a tendency to sit on the fence. I'm like, come on now, ask this question. He's like, no, you can ask that. I can't ask that. I'm tied in. I've got sponsorship to the people. Like, get off the fence.
Yeah, I've got one of my 3,000 irons in all those fires. Just give me a break here.
Just a nose.
It looks like you genuinely have a real laugh, though, and that's why it's nice to watch. As a team. When you're presenting it, it looks like you genuinely enjoy each other's company and you have a laugh on and off screen. And I would imagine that must be the case because you can't fake that kind of chemistry.
Absolutely. You hit the nail on the head. We do all really enjoy each other's company. We love what we do, and we spend a lot of time together off camera. I mean, you can't not with the nature of the job. I'm away for 2 weeks at a time. I've got my core team, and that's one of the things I've always loved about TV. You meet people. 2 weeks later, you're on a tour somewhere filming something. You feel like you've known this person forever. So you're in this vacuum together, and it's a great thing. I've made so many great friends through TV, and I classify DC and Ben and Mark within that group. Lee McKenzie, we're a very close team, and I like that, and I think it comes across on screen. Occasionally, I know my style is a little bit different to the norm, and I like to have a laugh because there's a lot of humor in motor racing, of course there is. But when things need to be serious, then I'm serious. I try to toe the line, but that's just kind of my style. I just like having fun. And Jason, motorsport, it's a very funny sport. There's loads of just hilarious stuff that goes on, and I have to talk about it. I can't look away from it. Be serious when you need to be, but also have fun when it's just there in front of your face, and it happens so often.
Yeah, well, I think that's what's good about the car coverage, actually, is that you do delve into some stuff which actually ordinarily wouldn't make the cut because it's not F1-y. And it's nice to get some different sort of stories in there and a bit of underground filth, and because there's plenty of that going on.
Of course, yeah, it's a crowded market, and you've got to have like a USP, and that's our USP. We truly hope that anybody who watches our coverage thinks, what, I could probably, I know it's a cliche to say, but I could probably go and have a pint with these people down the pub. And I get that a lot. When people meet us, they seem to have smiles on their faces, like, oh, hey! And that always makes me really, really happy, because we do the show for them, and it is hard. It is a slog. Jason introduced me earlier, and he's right. Formula One is very glamorous. If you're David Coulthard or Mark Webber. if you're Steve Jones, TV presenter, and you're about to put on your Formula One gear, you put on your jacket and your trousers or whatever, and you're in a porter cabin getting undressed in front of your 15 colleagues and friends in a boiling hot porter cabin in the middle of Bahrain. That ain't glamour at all.
Yeah.
It's not glamorous. It's a hard slog, but we just enjoy the subject matter. I love watching the races. I love seeing those cars go on the track.